Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of Point of View. Now, let's be real. A lot of young adults are learning about money the hard way through debt, mistakes, and trial and error because those real conversations about budgeting, saving, and building generational wealth simply aren't happening at the dinner table. The uncomfortable truth is a huge portion of Americans are living with little to no financial cushion. So the question is, are we setting ourselves up or setting ourselves back? Well, let's talk about it. The discussion starts right now, and you're watching Point of View. A new A new report shows that nearly 40% of Americans have less than $500 in their savings, with many dipping into what little they have just to cover basic needs like food and bills. As inflation, as you know, keeps rising, the costs keep rising, and just keep hitting you harder. So, 14% of people have nothing saved at all. Not actually living and enjoying life, but just trying to survive paycheck to paycheck. On that note, welcome to the table, Dr. Bria Harris.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yay.
Thank you
so
for
much
joining us.
Yes.
I'm sorry, cut you off. Go ahead.
I said thank you so much for having me,
Well,
girl.
thank you.
Yay.
So you specialize in financial literacy.
Correct.
What's your take on all of this?
This year, I've seen, even with my clients that come in, right? Tax season. Typically, tax season's the fun season, right? Where, well, some of my clients, okay? All right,
Right.
some of my clients, they owe.
Yeah.
So we're not going to say for the ones who owe, all
Right, that's not fun,
But,
yeah.
but for the ones who get refunds, right? Okay, we talking about my refund clients.
Now it's fun.
Yeah, now it's fun, right? Okay, we're talking about my clients that got refunds. Some of them, even the ones who I've noticed that even hit over six figures. So a lot of people don't understand that if you make 100, 130, 190, you can still get a refund back as long as you do the tax planning with your W-4 correctly, right? I've seen some of them taking out cash advances that they never would have came to me and take a cash advance out. So that's how I knew the inflation in times are a little bit hard because they're like, Brie, I need some money now.
Yeah.
I've seen clients submitting where, typically, I have a heavy volume office. So sometimes they be like, okay, they're okay with me with my little 3 to 5 day turnaround time.
Yeah.
I see some of my clients like, Brie, can you skip over some people? I need my stuff put in now. So I've noticed that it's tough out here.
Yeah.
You got people that's like, hey, I need to use my refund to pay my bills. I got to pay my landlord right now. I'm behind on this. My car note's behind. So I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
This year was the most that I ever did. I offer cash advance for people because, you may need it, right? And
Right.
it's a cash advance out of your refund, so it's not you borrowing it from nobody but out of your refund. But I seen my cash advances go up by 40% this year.
My God.
Wow. And from some of my clients that never did it before.
Wow. So people
People really struggling out
Yeah.
here. Really
Yeah.
struggling and living paycheck to paycheck. And I
So,
can see it.
so now you see some of them living paycheck to paycheck, or some of them also just living beyond their means.
Some of
trying
them
to
can
have
be.
look-
Some of them can be. I've seen a couple of my clients who were making six figures get laid off. One of them was United Health, and she was one of my top clients for a long time. She actually needed it. I know she's in the middle of selling her home and different things of that nature because she took a huge pay cut from what she was making before. When you go from making $250,000 a year to now you about to take a job for $65,000 a year, that's a big cut.
Wow.
So I seen some of those things, but yeah, it was rough watching that this year.
Yeah, my question is, Dr. Bria, is like right now in this economy, I remember a couple years ago on, I think it was like a news station that I had saw where they were saying that, the government was, wanting to eliminate the middle class, which I feel like we have seen a significant decline in the middle class. I don't know if some of those people have raised up to the upper class or, whatever, or if they have went down, in the pay rank. But my question is, in this economy, with everything being so high, how do you think people can grow their savings?
I know, unless you already, to me, was a person that's already into saving, most people now are not interested. I posted a sneak peek on some advice about starting life insurance and IRAs and 401ks for retirement because people feel like even if you're an entrepreneur, you can't put money to the side. It has to be strictly through W-2 employee. No. Somebody commented on my TikTok said, we just don't have the money.
Wow.
My God.
We just don't have the money.
And that's
Great
honest.
advice.
Yeah.
She said, great advice is her exact words, but we just don't have it no more.
So you're thinking, so what you're saying is at this point, it has just become
It's
like
going to be
nil to say.
Yeah, because I see it. You know, back in the day, middle class used to be about 70, 80 grand, right? You used to 70, 80 grand used to buy you a nice house.
Yeah.
Right? You used to make 70, 80 grand a year. You was feeling real top dog, right? When you start hitting 150, you thought somebody was rich.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
150 ain't nothing though.
Nothing.
You see somebody taking that's nothing anymore. So I see it that they are. I feel like either you're going to have it or you ain't.
It's the having
There's
it.
no middle class.
I can't even, I see it where it's just like the middle class is eliminated. It's just either you're going to have a lot, you're going to be ultra rich, or you just going to be lumped up with everybody else just here. We just here.
Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, let's talk about generational wealth. And why does it still feel like it's such a difficult conversation for so many Black households? Because at some point we have to ask, are we avoiding these conversations or we just never taught?
I just think I want to say every household wasn't taught. I just thinking about the upbringing. I think what it was in our communities, if you think about it going back to the 50s, 60s, the 40s, the 30s, money wasn't a conversation that you had publicly in the African-American household.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about it real good. Did you ever hear your parents talk about money?
No, not unless they have to
Okay.
pay bills.
Unless they had to pay bills, right? So we were taught that money was what? Pretty much most of us to pay bills. That, you know, we didn't have conversations on, hey, it's okay to plan 5 years from now about that life insurance.
Yeah.
Why we got so many GoFundMe's? Because nobody's planning, nobody's talking about trust. Why we in probate court? Because nobody's talking about these things because they're scared to. And that's the reason why I feel like generational wealth can't break the cycle unless you start it within your household. It's okay to have those conversations with your children.
Yeah.
To say, hey, you own some property, sit down and get your will together.
Yeah.
Sit down with a trust attorney. Sit down and get that life insurance. It's okay. I have $1 million life insurance, and I just got a letter in the mail the other day telling me this increasing to $1,050,000, which I love for my kids. So if anything was to happen to me, my kids will never have to worry about how they're gonna bury me or live.
Yeah.
You know. But these are things that we do not speak about because we're scared.
So for the table, like, why do you think we do not speak about money in our households? What are we afraid of?
I think it's just the culture itself.
Okay.
I don't think that it's afraid or we're scared. I just think it's something we've been taught for so long. It's hard to break that cycle.
We weren't taught.
You
we were
right.
indoctrinated.
You get what I'm saying? Like until you turned 18 and got out here on your own, right? Because most of the parents' households, right? Not saying everybody, because you do have some Black home households that actually was privileged to actually grow up on that, right? But not most, right? So what we do, we taught to get out here and make our mistakes.
Yeah.
Wow. Sunset, what do you think about it?
Right.
Well, you guys know where I'm at with this conversation. Again, we've been indoctrinated. So we talk about why is it a culture for the Black families not to talk about money? Well, it's cliche. You got to think we are the descendants of slavery, guys.
Exactly.
We're not that far from slavery. Ruby
Exactly.
Bridges still has a social media account. So we have to be aware.
my God.
Yeah, right? This is how prevalent it is to us. So we're talking about a generation of people that were looking at money as trauma. We only know money as a means to an end. We don't know that money can be saved. We don't know that money should be invested. We don't know that money can multiply itself, right? We're thinking money is equal to survival. So all we know is I need this to survive. We don't know that this can be our reason to thrive. That is why when it comes to investing in ourselves, we don't have the self-esteem required to understand that
There
you
we go.
deserve this and you can put something to the side to handle this. We're still operating in survival mode, and that's why our community
and
lacks.
that's where it lacks.
So our relationship with money is not a very good relationship.
No.
How are we going to turn it around? That we can have a better relationship with money, that it is a tool to work for us, not a tool that we're constantly having to work for.
We need to come together more and stop going against each other. And that's my honest opinion. I think if we actually come together and learn to teach a little bit more, right? I feel like we can't break certain cycles. But when you got somebody talking about, oh, well, this person that made it, they spend their money on this. Well, you don't know what they got going on the back end. How you gonna tell them how to spend their money, right? And then you got some people like, oh, well, I ain't never doing that when I get that type of money. You don't know what you're gonna do when you get that type of money.
That's right.
But that's the reason why we can't come together, because you got so many different opinions instead of just sitting here coming together and say, hey, you know what, how can we teach this? I went to career day in high schools, South Florida Fashion Academy, 8th through 12th grade. This was literally about 2 weeks ago. And it saddened me to understand that nobody knew what an accountant was and important to taxes and financial literacy.
No
and
way.
that's 8th to 12th grade.
Are you serious?
And I got the clip in my phone of
As you say,
as
that's
a student
indoctrination.
telling me
go.
that I didn't even know that. That's why we do taxes.
My God.
Goodness.
Okay, and I'm talking about basic, right? Because everybody know what taxes are for, right?
Right.
That's to fix the roads, the courthouses,
Right.
the
Yep.
schools, right?
Yeah.
The basics, right?
Yeah.
It's like a little bit. They didn't even know that.
Were y'all taught that? Were you taught this in school about
No.
taxes?
No, I
Did you
was,
even know that their
No.
accountants actually existed?
No, they didn't even know I existed. Yeah, they didn't even know
Yeah.
what accountant was.
No.
yeah, I knew a little bit, but I guess I first want to touch on Dr. Bria, what you were saying about coming together, and just having those conversations and sharing information and teaching. But I think that those things sound so good, and as much as we need them, I think we need to almost be in a way like break ourselves, not to have the system break us, but we need to break ourselves and rebuild ourselves, because I honestly feel like it's a heart posture thing. Like when you hear, Black people talk about, oh, Black people are, like crabs in a barrel type thing. This is something that, so many people say because we are experiencing it and we've been perpetuating it in different ways. Like I was thinking about, someone that I taught a lot of things to. And it's like, when I think about the people that taught me, there's never an opportunity where I'm not speaking about that. But as you see generations continue, it's like that pride, and it's just kind of like declining. And so we're just dividing more and more in our own ways when people are getting, so selfish. And so it's not just enough sometimes to teach, I feel like, and give the information, but also to have the heart posture to receive and to collectively decide that when we use this information, it's still going to benefit us. Because it's nothing for me to give you the information and you're going on it and you're just doing it over here and not coming back and putting it to the pot so that we can ultimately build our community.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, but have we been told? Have we just been told that we're crabs in a bucket and because sometimes you just been told something
just
and
about
then
to
you
say
kind of just like, okay.
Okay, that's what it is.
Right.
Right.
I want to say that. I want to say that it has been told, but at the end of the day, even if it has been told, that doesn't mean that we have not accepted it, secretly, because at the end of the day, the tongue is a sword. So if you're saying something, you're letting somebody plant a seed in your mind, then subconsciously, whether you want to do it or not, sometimes it's what we're going to see pour out into life. And I see it. When you think about the people that how many people do you know that are really like willing to work with you and to say, you know what, Sunset, I see that you have a vision right now. I see that you have a dream. I see that the battery's in your back and looks like God's favor is on your business. Let me come under your leadership right now to push what you have to the forefront right now. Most people aren't thinking about that, especially not our people. They're thinking about how the fact that they want to look like the chief so bad that they don't understand that even the chiefs are Indians too.
But do you think we may have just not gotten there yet? Like we're still building to be able to be
But how long
in that
are we going
hard
to keep
posture?
building, though?
I have no idea.
How long
And-
are we going to keep making it, hey, it's a cycle,
Instead of coming together.
So when are we ever going to break that cycle?
I would like to know.
It starts right here at the table, guys. And I'm with you, Raquel and Tally. It's like we can't keep perpetuating the same stories and the same stigmas, the same tropes about our community. We know it exists, which is why I'm very careful about not speaking on it. Oftentimes we're at this table and I consistently tell you guys, I'm for the Black people. Like I will not say it in public. I know what we're going through, right? Exactly what we're talking about. I would not discuss that in the public. That is something I would discuss when it's just us and I say, hey, we're struggling in this area. We need to get it together. But on the forefront of things, I say, no, we're getting it together. My people are working. Here's what I can provide you. Here's how I teach credit. Here's how you can leverage funding, right? On the forefront, we don't keep perpetuating it because we have the eyeballs of millions, right? So it's our responsibility to not perpetuate it and still work on fixing it in the background. Because like you said, the tongue is a sword. So the more we keep saying it, the more some little girl and some little boy is going to believe it and they're going to manifest that. So we need to stop perpetuating it and start adding to the solution. So we have Dr. Bria. Dr. Bria, how do you leverage the fact that you're in taxes, right?
Correct.
What can you tell the middle class, the below the middle class, I don't even know what to call it no more because it's the have and the have-nots, to where right now in their situation, what is one key thing that they can do to move the needle forward so that they can have just a little bit of hope?
Plan. Strategy. A lot of my clients, when they come to me, or even when I go and teach, I always teach about planning and strategy. And I think once you add that, no matter what you're doing, if you live in a paycheck to paycheck right now, say if you live in a paycheck to paycheck, but you got $20 every week to still go to Dunkin' Donuts and stop.
Come on.
Okay? That $80 a month that you're going to spend times that by 12. you can still have a little bit of savings. Sometimes you might have to cut one or two things, but you can still have a plan or a strategy still, no matter what times and economies that you have. Because at the end of the day, we still got to think about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, something happened tomorrow.
Yeah. What do you say to people, and this is for anyone at the table, what do you say to people when they're like trying to invest in themselves, or they're investing in the market, or investing in something that is supposed to produce in the future, right? And they say, well, you know, the $80, that $20 that I'm saving every week, that can't really make me any money. It's just $80.
It doesn't matter, right? Just like if you buy a home, right? Let's talk about that. You buy a home and you have a $500,000 home. You done paid $200,000 on it already, right? You still may have $300,000, but guess what? You have $200,000 in equity that you can still pull from.
Right.
So what does that mean?
Right.
So that $80, you're telling me that may not move and it may not do nothing for you, but on that rainy day where you may be short that your rent $1,500.
Thank you.
And you may be short that $800.
Right.
Guess what? But you did enough to save this little $300 something and you got your next. Guess what? You can still do it. So don't have that mindset, and that is what keeps you in the same position. It's the way your mentality and your mindset set. Once you set yourself in a certain tone and you tell, oh, this don't benefit me, it's never going to benefit you.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
I think an important part of this conversation is telling people, because I've seen an article written about you, Dr. Bria, where you talk about not just saving for the rainy days, saving for the vacations, right? Our people, again, we have been traumatized by money and traumatized by this system so much so that we don't look at money as an asset other than a means to an end, right? And we feel so disconnected from people that make it. So I think we have to tell people it's okay to spend on yourself. So the same way we're saying that $80 can be saved for a rainy day, what about a good day? Yeah. What about that mother that worked all year long and she couldn't even take herself to dinner? She don't know what an inside of a restaurant looks like. No. She don't know what her size is because she hasn't bought any clothes for herself in a whole 2 years, right? My mother being one of those people. I have to train my mother to do for self.
Yeah.
She is literally knocking on the door of 60 and she does not know how to spend on herself.
Wow.
If you give her $50, my mother is going to put it towards a bill. She's going to put it towards giving it to someone else who needs it or giving it to a family member. Yeah. Because she has been taught that money is supposed to help others or pay bills. Yeah. So we need to train our people that money is not just for the rainy days, but it's for the good days too.
Yeah,
right?
it's hard.
You
it's
have
hard
the
to
rainy
get that in your
days.
head
Correct.
To
you do still need to save. Okay, so you have 60% where you have right for everyday life. You're still supposed to have that 20% for yourself.
Yeah.
That 20% for yourself. So if you wanted to go and spend $1,500 and shop on yourself, you want to go get that mani and pedicure, you want to get your hair and your nails done, it's okay to still save for that. Yes. You don't have to just have a rainy day savings. Yeah. You still, because at the end of the day, the more you feel good about yourself, come on, the more you're willing to see in a different view. And I think that's what people don't understand. Once you pour into yourself, let's go. I'm telling you, you'll be able to pour into anything else.
But that's really a mindset that people have to train themselves to have. Yeah,
exactly.
It's so crazy too, even just thinking about, how your outer beauty and just how you feel ultimately affects, your whole view on life. And right now in this economy, it's like I've been doing hair for almost 18 years now, and I thank God for blessing me with that gift. And you get to a point in your craft where you feel like I'm worth so much. Like I'm worth that $500, that $600 sewing. But because I started doing hair when I was a single parent at 19 years old, I always had a heart for people. And I always wanted to feel beautiful, but I had to make those hard decisions. Like, okay, you know what? Am I going to be able to get my hair done, or am I going to pay daycare? Just, just little things like that. And so it made me want to be affordable. But now that I've been doing it so long and I'm so good at my craft, I feel like I should be paid. But recently in this economy, it's like God is pulling on my heartstrings. And I'm like, man, I feel like not that I need to, but I feel like I want to come down again, because I want the average woman, even though sometimes when you get to a certain level, you think that, oh, well, the average woman isn't my client. But you want people to feel beautiful and to be able to afford it. And right now, they cannot afford it.
Yeah, that's true.
And you were talking about being a single parent. Now, your history is part that you were a teenage mother. You dropped out of high school, and you were homeless from time to time.
Yes, I was.
What was that turning point that you were just like, that's it?
All right, so sum it up with a quick story.
Okay.
I was 13. I was hanging out with a lady in school who was older than me, but she wasn't in my school. My mom grew me up in a school where it was predominantly white. I was like 6 black people. So I can actually say my mom took us out the hood. I can be honest with you, right? So it wasn't lifestyle. It was just me wanting to see what the other lifestyle was. I was curious. So nevertheless, she said, Bria, let's sneak out the house Go to this party. Went to this party. These guys put some date rape stuff in my drug, and I was raped at 13. Wow. So my mom wanted to teach me a lesson. She said, Bria, we're not going to do an abortion. She said, you're going to have this baby, and I'm going to teach you how to become a mother, right? Now, mind you, I'm 13, and I'm like, I don't even know how to take care of myself. Yeah. Right?
Jesus.
When I did have the baby, I realized that I can't do it. So the trauma, just everything from just reliving that and looking at him, I said, he'll have a better life without me. So I gave him for a closed adoption, okay? I was battling with myself, right? Being raped, I don't care what nobody say, that is horrific. Sure. I don't wish that on no man or a woman because it can go either or, okay? So I was feeling very suicidal. I was going through my own things. I decided to pack up my house. I decided to move out, and I dropped out of school. Okay? That was because I was fighting within myself. Okay? Around 16, I decided to go get some counseling. Okay? I was on the streets for a little while. I ran away. I ain't had nowhere. I'm bouncing all over the place.
I don't know how I'm not crying.
I know.
But the tears are there.
Like,
oh, Jesus.
When I hit 16, I said, Bria, this is not the life for you. Right? You can become something better. Quit blaming yourself about what happened. Right? Go get some help. So this is why I say mental illness is real, but you have to be able to acknowledge it. So I was able to acknowledge and go get the help. So I'm here to tell people, don't be scared to get the help because you need it. Yeah. Nevertheless, I decided to go back and get my GED. So for people who say, oh, you got a GED, that doesn't mean anything. Well, that GED got me into college. I graduated with my master's in finance and accounting and a minor in business. Yes. Got my doctorate last year. So at the end of the day, that means nothing.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's
so
the $80.
That's the $80, okay? Listen, that's the $80. And at the end of the day, for people who going through things, you could always have a better outcome, but you have to be able to take accountability with yourself. I think a lot of people don't want the help because they're scared to say, hey, I need it. Yeah. And I recognize that and say, yeah, this is not the path for me.
Yeah. And now you went into finance, and now you have a $1.1 million accounting business. Yes. Look at that. And you said the $80. The $80.
The $80.
1.1 million. Okay.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
And growing.
And growing.
And growing.
Amen. And growing.
Amen.
Yes,
you know, there was a question that was in your bio. Yes. And I was very intrigued by this, that it says tax season can be leveraged to build businesses and generational wealth. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Okay. So a lot of people feel like tax season is just, hey, tax season, right? You know, people be scared because they plan it,
Don't
right?
you know?
But I have seen so many of my clients take their tax refunds and actually either start their business that they really wanted to do, or actually go out and chase a career or go back to school. I've seen so many of my people who went and took their money and went back from RNs to nurse practitioners. So what I mean by doing that is you can take it and still bring generational wealth. You don't have to use it and mess it off. Some people do. Yeah. But then I do also educate and let them know that, hey, if you get $10,000, $13,000 back, take it and do something with it. I done see people close on their homes. I done see people get married off the refunds. I done seen everything, right? So that's what I mean by taking it and breaking tax generational curse. Because at the end of the day, you could take it and start that life insurance policy, right? I pay $2,000 a year for mine. You know what I mean? But I know my kids are always going to be good anytime. So you could take it and do other things with it besides just saying, hey, I'm going to take it and go buy a car that's going to break down tomorrow. Right. You know, literally. The same furniture, moving every year. Yeah. You might want to make some better investments.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just really based on that mindset.
Yeah, it's all about mindset.
Changing that mind, which can be sometimes quite difficult, but it's making that commitment, right?
Making a commitment, right?
Making a commitment to say, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to learn how to build myself and build my family this generational wealth.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always want to touch base back on who you had to become in that transition. You said so much things that I'm kind of still shaking. You said your mother forced you to still have that child. Yes. What did you have to accept through that transition in building that relationship with your mother?
I'm so
We're going to have to bring you
back.
back.
Yes. We got to do a part two. We got to do a part two. We got to do a part two.
If you're watching this, don't wait until tomorrow to start having those uncomfortable conversations. Have them today. Start building that generational wealth for your family and for your future. You can catch us same time, same place tomorrow, right here on Point of View.